Hello and happy Thursday, friends. It is my honor to introduce you to my friends, Luke and Yvonne Rosenbohm. Better Earth Logistics was created in 2015 by Luke and Yvonne with one thing in mind, giving their community a sustainable option for organic waste through composting. They started out just helping one business get closer to zero waste during the fall, and that quickly turned into a year-round service in Central Illinois for businesses of all sizes and residential customers. So I'll let them tell you the rest, and hopefully you're inspired to reach out to them after today's presentation. But please welcome Yvonne and Luke.
Well, hello. Thank you for having us. We have a video to show, so I hope you've all finished eating because it's food waste. So if you've got a weak stomach too, you might not want to watch. But I just wanted to start first by thanking Ashley for asking us to come. And a little bit of a background about us, because a lot of people in the community see us and say, I know your face, I've seen you, but where from? And that is because we've been involved in a lot of things in the last 12 years that we've been married. Luke was in the Air National Guard for 16 years. He was a crew chief and then he became a pilot. So that's kind of how our married life started, was military life. When we came back to Illinois, we had 2 kids by then. We have 3 now, 3 little boys. And we decided that we wanted to invest in our community. So that's when we ended up creating Better Earth Logistics. So his parents own the compost facility that's out by the airport, and they had a need for a driver. And we said, why not? You know, a pilot and a Bible college dropout person. I mean, we could do this. So we created Better Earth Logistics to fill a need of one of the local companies to have a trucking service. And we ran that 24 hours a day hauling pumpkin waste. And you'll see a lovely picture of that pumpkin waste dumping at the facility. While we were doing that, Luke was still in the Guards, and an opportunity arose for us to invest in a new business that wasn't in the area. It is so different from what we were doing. It was a video game trailer. So our business was called Game On, and we ran that. We built it here. It was custom built in Peoria, and one of the things that we loved about it, it was wheelchair accessible. So that meant that our gamers could come in and game in the trailer just like everybody else, and it was inclusive, and that is a big part of when we have our businesses, what we do. It has to be inclusive to all, or else we don't do it. So we built the trailer, and we don't game. So again, it was a great fit. But through that, we met some fabulous young people who came and worked for us. One of them just got married last weekend in Kansas City, and he has just struck a deal with Netflix for $3 million. So we are so proud of the staff that we were able to mentor and grow. We sold that business at the beginning of this year, so it's still in the community, and we're excited to see gamers own it and take it on. So we like to tell people, hey, maybe you bumped into us here and there, but also in the last year, Luke has become president of the Greater Peoria Honor Flight. So as a veteran himself, and as somebody who we just love our veteran community, and we still wanted to be involved even though he's retired now, we've been going to the welcome homes at the airport, and our boys come, they wear their flight suits, and they welcome home every single veteran that comes off that plane. So when Luke got the phone call to say, would you be the president, it was an automatic yes. So that has been a joy and a real privilege to be able to serve our veterans in the community. So it's weird as talking about our business and not talking about the veterans, because we absolutely love them and we love serving the community. So if you say, hey, we recognize your face, it might have been from the news, from one of those things, and it might have been from Better Earth Logistics, but we're excited to talk about the thing that makes us money, and also the thing that is good for the environment, and actually happens right here in Peoria. So Luke's going to come up, and we're going to get that video going. So if you get any questions, we're hopefully keeping this short so you can ask us at the end. Thanks.
I know, I'm working on it.
Hi, welcome to Better Earth, where we are a 20-acre facility where we make compost here. I'm Luke, and I'm about to show you exactly how we make that compost. Take a look.
A lot of people ask what happens after we pick up
the food waste from your facilities. So whether it be a commercial facility or a residential pickup location that we offer, our equipment comes by, picks it up, dumps it in our trucks. Some of it's less desirable than others, but it all in all is food waste. We bring it out to the compost facility located here in Central Illinois. It's a 20-acre facility, as you can see, full of piles and rows of material. So everything is in a phase at some point in the composting process. When we get to the facility, we dump it into this pit. This allows the compost facility to then mix the material, and we've always got a little bit of pumpkin waste coming in here too. So as you can see, the material, mostly food waste. You've got compostable products. You've got these liners that look like trash cans. They are compostable liners, so everything will break down. But as you can see, we do get things that aren't supposed to be here. So we're always trying to get those kind of contaminations out of our composting process. Whether it be water bottles, ketchup wrappers, stickers on produce, none of that can be composted out. So we're always trying to work to get that out, either before it gets in the composting process or after, and you'll see that later. I tell the kids it's like baking a cake when you're making compost. You've got to have all the right ingredients. So it takes a little bit of your carbon source, your nitrogen source. So we're using yard waste and food waste and mixing it together in the right ratios to make the best compost we can through aerobic composting. So the yard waste goes through that grinder. We put it all into these windrows, and then we grab this turner that adds the oxygen back into the process. So the key ingredients for composting is the right ingredients, then you got to have the right temperature, the right moisture. That oxygen being added back into the compost process helps keep the process continuing. So we're not creating methane through this process, where if all of this material goes into the landfill, that's what you produce. Those are the gases that are produced. These windrows stretch over 400 feet long, and we're processing 16 to 18 rows of these every couple of months. This allows us to take in large volumes of industrial food waste, yard waste from large municipality areas, and we can process this down, and within a year, the material is back into the community, allowing us to take a material from a waste point all the way to a renewable point. Like I said, we have contamination problems. We always want to give our customers the best material, the most consistent. So we process our compost through a screener that screens out any of the large pieces or any of the imperfections. And this allows us to make sure that when you put it in your garden, you're not dealing with large pieces that you don't want to be putting in, large sticks, even water bottles that get through. As it goes through the screen, any of the larger pieces that don't make it through the screen will come out on what we would call an overs conveyor, something over the size of the screen. So it comes through the screen and gets dumped out. Then it gets fed into a vacuum system. So this vacuum system also has a magnet on it, so we can grab some of the metals that we tend to get. Somebody left a nail in a tree or something like that. We're always trying to get that out too. But it also is vacuuming out the plastics that are a little lighter. It then goes into this container that we've fabricated that allows all that plastic to be captured. And instead of it going, just flying around in the community, we're putting this back into the landfill, because right now that's the best solution we have, because nobody can recycle what comes into this. So we do our best to try and get it out, and if we can catch it beforehand and recycle it, that's great. Typically, we're having to capture it at the end of the process and then landfilling any of the trash that makes it out. But more importantly, we're making a bunch of compost that then gets back into the community. We don't just do compost here, we also try and find any other type of soils to make engineered soils that maybe somebody doesn't want. So right here, we've got a pile of compost, river silt that nobody really wanted to deal with, and then sand that was becoming a problem in the river that was taken out by the Corps of Engineers. We blended that together, and that's actually going to major box stores right now, back into the community. This allows us to make sure that it's not just compost being made or just taking care of one little part of the community as far as coming up with solutions for waste diversion. By mixing up the compost in some of these soil blends, we're able to get it to more facilities, we're able to get it to more customers, and it's making the compost a little more versatile. And that's how you take food waste and turn it into nutrient-rich soil. So now that you know how composting is done, now you're probably thinking, how can I get my food waste, or how can my facility or my office or my university be involved in this? Get a hold of us. We can help you out. We can help find the right solution for you so we can start doing more diversion from the landfill, getting it to this facility, making compost and back into the community as a renewable resource. Get a hold of us. We can help.
I'm so thankful we did an audio one because my throat hasn't been the best this week, so that was perfect. Now that you guys have seen this, there's a test, 10-question test before you leave. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to grow something in the community that is actually helping. If anyone has anything to do with the landfill, you know that we're supposed to shut it down years ago, and we keep getting a little more and a little more. And that's due to efforts in the recycling industry, trying to find another way to divert something. I know if you Google where does your yard waste or where your recycling goes, everybody says, oh, it's in the landfill. We are fortunate enough here with what was PDC, now GFL, and also a lot of people don't even know this, Midwest Fiber over Bloomington and off Mossville also help tremendously in the recycling efforts. So we've actually worked closely with them. So that has allowed us to open our eyes and realize we can recycle here, we can make these diversions, and that does help us not make little mountains all over the Midwest full of trash. At this point, I think the landfill is supposed to be closing in a year or two, but it was supposed to close a few years ago already, so it's been a huge help. Just this week, we have diverted, we're on Thursday, right? So just this week, we have diverted over 60 tons that 5 years ago was all just weekly going to the landfill, and now it's all coming out to the compost facility. At the same token, just today, so we've sent out 80 cubic yards of compost. One's going up to the stadium with the engineered soil for the Peoria Stadium. We've got some going out to OSF, the new cancer society or building. Like I said, it's all coming back into this community. So we are fortunate enough, this is all big in the East Coast and the West Coast, but most of it's mandated by the government. And if you talk to our California friends, especially in the compost industry, are really struggling to keep that contamination side out. We've had the opportunity to keep all of our customers in the right mindset to know that if they do their efforts on their end, we'll do our efforts. And we've been able to put a pretty good product out for our end customer. So at this point, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If you have any insight on your backyard composting and want to give me some pointers, I'm always passing that information on. Go ahead, sir.
Really impressive with the equipment and the facilities that you have now. But tell us about the first couple years of how did you get through that?
So I was 11 when we started. So I have been doing composting. Obviously, went to college, did all that. So I've left, then came back. We started with one New Holland tractor, one grinder that was, you saw the grinder there. What that one does in a day, it would take us all week to do with that grinder. So that big loader you saw at the end is 10 times the capacity of what the other one is. It has come so far. If you've been out there if you haven't been out there in the last 5 years, it looks drastically different. We've really tried to scale it up because, like I talked in the video, river silt, sand, all these things need to be repurposed, and we've been able to find the market for it, and we're growing that. We took in over 10 barges of river silt and we've repurposed it, and that was all just sitting in bottoms where the barges were struggling to get through, and that was just maintenance. If we started today dredging the Peoria Lake, I don't know if there's any boaters out there who would love that to happen. My grandkids wouldn't see the project finished, and I'm 36. So we can get started with it. Working with it's funny, you wouldn't think the USDA, you would think more Army Corps and all these other organizations, but everybody's trying to find those solutions because we are finding, well, you can't just pile something up out in the corner and just leave it. You got to do something with it. So we've been working on this project for a few years, just trying to find a good solution to repurpose. And right now we've got a few more things to tweak, but it's come a long way. So yeah, from start to finish, it's definitely grown.
I have several questions, but does weather affect?
Absolutely.
The second question would be, is your end product is just staying here locally, you're not shipping it other states?
Okay.
And the third question would be, what do you think your capacity is right now? Like, can you handle much more? Like, what would you estimate your?
Okay.
How much more you can handle?
Weather, I'll address that one first. Weather, yes, I scooped out, this morning, I came from the facility and I jumped in one of the loaders and probably scooped out, give you a reference, 15 cubic yards, so like a whole tandem truck full of just mud and muck that as we're driving along, you spill and drop, and then the rain soaks in, and that's just a constant thing. We purposely have certain jobs that we switch her out so we don't have to send anyone home. So everybody's working every day. You got to get creative with the schedule and what jobs are coming to what jobs need to be done. Your second one was stays local. The EPA does regulate anything that goes over the state lines. So every state EPA changes that. If you start looking at the logistics of trying to haul this because of the volume and the capacity it takes, it's not really resourceful. The perfect solution is we have regional facilities because everybody has the same kind of ingredients. So every region should have one. So like Chicago should be able to take care of Chicago. We should be able to take care of Central Illinois. St. Louis composting should take care of the St. Louis area. And that's kind of where everybody's looking at. I'm not going to say that you don't see bags from one state going over the other. In our case, even the company we sell to that bags it separately, they mix their stuff in, but they use our compost as an ingredient. They even stay somewhat regional because the trucking will just kill you. I mean, anyone that deals with trucking knows it's not cheap. And then the third thing, we are currently at 70% capacity of what the EPA allows us to take in. The beautiful thing about a compost facility is you bring it in, but it also goes out. And that is one thing my dad had to work really hard to build a market for compost just to sell it and get people on board with it, because you have to make sure it's coming out, or else then you're doing the same thing the landfill is and just building a pile. So everything that comes in goes out, so we can be there for a couple hundred years and there's no effect of, well, pile it up and leave it there. So everything gets moved through. One more question.
You got a couple more.
Oh wait, can I just touch on something? Because this might bring up more questions. I only got like 5 minutes. So, raise the mic. I yell, sorry, actually. I'm loud, I'm Scottish. That's normally the other question is, what's that accent? I don't actually know half the time. I've lived too many places. So one of the cool things is one of our new customers in Peoria is the coffee shop, the Intuition Coffee that just reopened. They're fantastic because they have come on board and said, we want to do the right thing. And Luke did mention that we're not told here you have to compost. So our customers are making the choice to do it. And we find that gets the best result because it is a choice and it is a change. And we find here people don't like change. So we've had to battle that. But one of the really cool things that Luke and I have got involved in is selling the compostable products. So I can pass them around so you can feel it. These look like your regular plastic, but they're actually all compostable and they're made from plants. So this is one of the products that we provide our customers to help them to be able to be zero waste. If they're not reusable stuff, we want them to be compostable, so that just helps people saying, hey, I can look at this and it's marked that it's compostable at a commercial facility. So please don't put this in your backyard composting because it will not break down. You'll be mad, it'll not work. So that's just one thing that we didn't touch on, but when we start with our customers, a lot of the times we start in the backside of the kitchen and we help with the training of the staff so that when they're scraping plates, they're just putting food waste in there. But we can provide plates and cups that can all go in the same bin as the food waste. So everything's going in one, and we have green liners that are compostable too. So it's just something to think about when you go to places and you see them choosing compostable products or they look a bit different and you wonder why. Thank them, because they're the businesses that are making the choice to say we want to do this because this is important. And they're going to be the ones that are ahead of the game when the government turn around and say you have to do this, and they're not caught out. So I've got this bag of goodies you can have a look with if you're interested. But
We can go ahead and put it on the table out there and display it, and people can come up afterwards.
there's also cards.
And the important thing is these straws aren't the paper straws that get stuck to your lip. They are a plastic base. I know, and that's the thing, like I had one customer ask, well, can you give me those paper straws? I said, absolutely not. Your customers will hate it. Everyone hates it. Just don't worry about
And
it.
they're
Here's
not
these.
inclusive.
Yeah.
Because, so the other thing, if there's anybody who can make us bendy straws, so we do have some bendy straws, we need bendy straws. So people in chairs need to have the bend. So that's the one thing, we will not provide straws because they are not inclusive. So that's just another, shut up.
You have a question?
Yeah, so you said you had to find a use for the river silt.
Yes.
What is that? Because I would think you just put it back in the farm fields. So what is the use then?
So you can. What we have found is a lot of beneficial reuse is the key word that you'll hear at the USDA, the EPA, and everything. You've got all these even land reclamation projects where they're having to dig something that's contaminated out. So we've got big industrial facilities, right? You got to dig it all out so far down and then resurface. That's what's allowing us to do that. So it can't just be straight river silt sometimes, because then you might change the characteristics of the soil in that area to where it won't drain. So these soil engineers will say, well, you need this much % of this much % of that. We've got one soil that we're adding pine bark in just to mess with the pH levels. So those are the kind of things that we're working with. Yeah, I've seen it. And even a couple of bigger cities, they just make a big pile and say, well, when it's dry in 3 years, then we'll come and work on it. I've dried out a barge as quick as 3 weeks and then processed it through our system. So within 3 months, we had it out in a retail process. So that's the other key element, is everybody says, well, yeah, we know how to dig it out. We know how to pile it up. How do we get it gone quick? And then who do we get it to? So that's what we've been able to work out so far.
So thanks for being here. I have a few questions, but one of them is, I believe you spoke at Tee It Up for the Troops and the honor, and you fly the honor flight. Do you do that?
So I'm the president of it now. Yeah. So we charter in a 737 to take 75 veterans for their Day of Honor out to DC, and it's an amazing time.
So amazing. Thank you for doing that. What, can we buy those plates? How do we get those plates?
Yeah, we can talk together. So we've partnered. It's a really unique relationship that we have with two manufacturers actually. Now they're one company, Eco Products and Vegware. They actually want to work with the composter first, because if I trust their brand, then they have credibility in the industry. Because right now what we're dealing with is Chicago is denying what we call the front side of the house, where people can use single-use compostables and throw them in a lot or in a bin and then bring it out. They are banning it right now because they're getting too much contamination. We've worked with our customers. Caterpillar is probably one that has been a great one to work with, because if we have a problem, we can talk with them, we can sort it out and find where the issues are to make sure the contamination isn't getting in. But yeah, you talk to us, we can get you whatever you need.
So if I'm working in my yard, how do I get some of your compost to use personally?
Well, if you want to come hang out with us at our facility, the smell can be a little dicey depending on the season, but just about every nursery around here has it. So Hare Nursery, Sheridan Nursery, you've got Colescape over in East Peoria, even at Bloomington, F&W, Sunburst, several of them. And if you go on the website, you can find all the, if you go to betterearthcompost.com, you can find all the customers there. Selling bulk, and yes, and then if you need a bag, just a 40-pound bag, we've got that too. In the back?
Yeah, not really a question, just a brief comment. Yeah, speaking of personal use, I've actually been out to your facility. I go out there 2-3 times a year. I think you probably.
Yeah, you look familiar.
So I use all their stuff. I go out there, bring my pickup truck. They dump compost in the back of my truck. I put it in my vegetable garden. I planted about 40 trees. I put compost around all my trees, and they are growing like crazy. You also have mulch out there. I mean, they've got a wide range of products out there, and it's amazing. It's cool to see the video and getting the contaminants out, because you get your products and it's just, I mean, it's just free of about everything, right? But what's that?
Except pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds, maybe?
Yes, we get a ton of pumpkin seeds.
But no, I can't speak highly enough of their products and their staff. I don't know if it's all family members or not, but, you know, I recognize you, but definitely if you need something in bulk, bring a pickup truck out and head out there. It's cool to see it.
Yeah, we tell people we can get you a 40-pound bag or 40 semi-loads. You just take your pick which one you want. Any other questions? All right.